You are a veteran Japan content creator.
Ooh, am I? That's
You
cool.
are. You've been in the game for a while now.
I suppose, yeah.
Why do you think Japan is booming in popularity in terms of tourism and in terms of content nowadays?
I think it's something that's brought together all by a bunch of different factors. One, the yen is really weak at the moment. That's spurring a lot of tourism. Two, it's no accident. Like Japan has been trying to get so many more tourists. They want to double the current numbers by 2030. There wants to be 60 million people coming to Japan by 2030.
Crazy.
So they have been ramping up in their tourism promotion and advertising overseas and all of that. Honestly, there's a lot of tourists that come from China, and honestly, like the Asian tourists that come to Japan, I'm not super familiar with because it's just an entirely different culture. So I'm not really sure of like what are the motives. I guess shopping is a main part, and because the yen is so weak, like it makes shopping really easy. But I think for like Western tourists, they call them like obe nashi is like American, English, Australian. Like a big reason is like the culture and the history and anime, and like Japan has just so much going for it. Like there's so many reasons to love Japan, so many reasons to come here.
I think there's a huge education piece recently about all of those things. Definitely in the Western world.
Yeah. And there's been like so much media that's come out. It kind of almost feels like the perfect storm, but not like an accidental storm. Like Japan has been planning it. They want this. And and then the weak yen and the end of COVID, everyone really wanting to just get out and travel and like finally see the parts of the world they've been like pent up in their houses for so long. That has been, the hugest like spurring moment. But I mean, I think 2019 was very similar numbers to this year so far, as far as things were going.
I read that, especially for cherry blossoms, it was mostly the same.
Yes.
Except, in the last like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Except for cherry blossom season, which was actually largely slightly over.
Yeah.
The 2019 season, yeah.
Yeah, they're expecting this year to be a little bit of an increase on 2019.
Yeah.
But in terms of like content, I think it's got so much more to do with the fact that there's a lot of people coming to Japan, yes, and travel's back on the books, so people are keen to go. But plus also, just like the content creator space is booming right now.
It's
like
crazy.
It's insane. Like it was so unusual when like years ago when people were like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. And I feel really stupid saying it. And everyone's like, really? You can make money from YouTube? You know, that you have that conversation back and forth.
Yeah.
But now
you can have a career from YouTube thing is such a crazy, wild dream.
It felt like there's no way that's real kind of thing. And now if I say, I still feel a bit sheepish saying like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. But once I said, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, what's your niche? Or like, people don't have the same questions that they used to. Now it's so much more common. Or like, it's just common to be like, oh, I'm a content creator. I'm a TikTok, Instagrammer, a Facebook creator. Like, there's so many ways to make money on the internet. So just the content creation industry is booming as well. And Japan is, I will admit, I think you can admit, one of the easiest countries to make content about because there's so many things that's interesting about it.
Yep.
It's so different from overseas. And it's incredibly easy to paint Japan in like a perfect brush. Like it's a utopia. Everything is amazing here. They're living in the future. We both know that's not true. Anyone who's lived in Japan knows it's not true. But having just spent like a month or so traveling in the US, coming back to Japan, I was like, oh, now I know why Americans love Japan so much because it feels like they've solved all of the problems, right? Like it's so safe, it's so clean, and the people are so nice. The customer service is amazing. But yeah, anyway, so that's a huge thing. It's like Japan is booming, tourism in general is booming around the world, and also creator industry is booming as well.
Yeah, it's just like perfect storm of all these things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
I've really been very sensitive to all of the newer content creators coming through.
Yeah.
There's so many, especially in Japan, like immense number of new creators, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really like great that people are enjoying the country, coming here to make things, trying new careers,
Mm.
content creation as a whole kind of career is like a brand new thing. And then when you combine it with like everyone's sudden love for Japan, it's like,
Yeah.
It's such a interesting mashup of
It causes a lot of tension that I think we all know what that tension is manifesting itself as. And it's just like everyone's creating content, whether or not you're a content creator or an influencer or YouTube, whatever you want to call it. Even if you're just making content for your friends and family, you still want to take a really nice photo. And you still want to just be creative in general. And you see a really cool photo, you're like, sick, I want to go there. And suddenly you show up and you're like, oh, I didn't realize like half the city was going to be here. And it's really packed. And now they've built a mesh fence so you can't take photos of it, like that kind of thing.
Crazy.
So it's like, it's not just the creators that are creating things. Everyone's been very creative. We've all got amazing cameras in our pockets and it's so easy to take beautiful photos now. And honestly, Japan is like the easiest country to take photos in. I tried to do like street photography in Brisbane. That is street photography on hard mode. It's incredibly difficult.
What did you find difficult about it?
It's like the lighting is so harsh. Like the sun in Australia, it's like blinding.
Especially like when it's not the middle of winter.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult.
Winter, it's okay. Yeah, this was in summer. Yeah. And so it's like blindingly hot. And yeah, it was like closer to like 2-3 p.m. So it wasn't like great lighting. The architecture, I don't know. It's also probably just got to do with the fact that like I'm from Brisbane, therefore Brisbane is not interesting. Because I'm like, oh, that's the Macca's I used to hang out the front of, and
grass is always greener. I feel the same way about Sydney, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. But I went to Sydney, I was like, this is sick. There's so much cool stuff. It's just what you don't know, which is why I think like if you're Japanese, you might find my content or your content kind of just like because it's not interesting to them, but for everyone else it is. But that's that's all about finding your niche.
I mean the Western world is most certainly enamored with Japan at the moment. You mentioned you're from Brisbane, another fellow Aussie. It's like
so many Aussies.
There's so many Aussies on.
We're so close. An hour time difference.
It's, I go to Nesico and it's like it's literally just Sydney.
I never left. I
never left.
It's crazy.
What was life like in Brisbane? Growing up and all the rest of it. And how did you eventually make your way here?
So when I was in Brisbane, I think it's like Brisbane's not a small town by any means, but I think I'd grow up looking at other cities being like, oh, if only I lived there, I would have more opportunities or whatever. I just like wanted to get out of Brisbane always. Now when I go back to Brisbane though, I love it. And I think it's an awesome city and it's a great time.
Isn't that fun? Fun how that happens? The older you get, the more you treasure your hometowns, especially if you've moved away.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, it's actually really beautiful. So when I was in Brisbane, I grew up, my sister was a dancer when she was younger, and I was the youngest child, so I wanted to be a dancer because my sister was a dancer. So I started doing dance lessons, and then I got really, really into it, and then I was just doing dancing, singing, acting, everything, performing. I loved musical theatre, all of that. So then when I finished high school, I went to a performing arts college in Sydney, actually. So I lived in Sydney for 2 years, and that was at a place called 85. It was great education. I don't know how I had like the audacity to be like, I'm going to be a dancer as my career. And I like wasn't even that good at dancing. I don't know. I just had like the confidence that only a youngest child can have, I think.
I mean, you definitely start with that as a young kind of age thing. And then like, did you have any like jobs, or was that always like your kind of performing arts job?
I worked at Subway and I worked at Woolworths. I was the checkout chick.
Oh, nice.
I actually loved working at Woolworths. That was great. It was a good time. I'd work at Subway again as well. That was also a really fun time. And I also taught dance lessons at my dance school.
Nice.
And then when I was at the Performing Arts College, so in Australia, like performing arts industry is not huge. So you either go into like film and TV, maybe if you can get your foot in the door, or maybe musical theatre if you're really, really, really talented, or you might try to get a job overseas. This is a huge generalization. There's other ways to do it, but a lot of the jobs overseas are like cruise ships or theme parks. And I really wanted to work at Universal Studios Japan, or any of the Universal Studios, honestly, or at Disneyland. Didn't matter where. I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of the country. And so for those big theme parks and cruise ships, they do big worldwide auditions. And so they'll go to like Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, maybe the Gold Coast. They might go to the UK. They go all over America. And then, so they came to Sydney. I auditioned the first year. I did not get the job. I got right to the end, but I didn't get the job. And I was like, oh, it's sad. I'll stay. I'll do another year of full time. And then I got the job the second year round, which is amazing. And I was like, peace out. I'm gone. I just didn't have many friends in my performing arts college. I think I was too weird. That's fine. I was weird.
What year was this?
This was like straight out of high school I went there. So it would be like 2010 and 2011. So 2011 I got the job, moved to Japan in 2012. I had no idea what Japan was or what it was about. I didn't know I watched like one YouTube video of like Japanese to like learn Japanese. And it was like, arigato gozaimasu. And I was like, no, I'm not going to learn this. I was like, I'm just going to learn it on the job. And then I arrived in Japan, and like I remember thinking in like my first might have even been my first day or my first week living in Japan. I remember immediately thinking, oh, I want to stay here for longer, because the contract is only a 1-year contract. You don't just get to renew it; you have to audition every single year.
Damn.
Yeah.
And is it for the same role every single year?
It depends if you want to get like another role. So you pretty much you would audition as just an actor, or as a singer dancer, or as a stunt person. And so I would always go for the singer dancer role. That's what I originally auditioned as. But I got cut from the singing round because I wasn't good enough. And then they were like, but you look like you could be a character. Do you think you want to stick for that? And I was like, I'll do anything. So I just said yes. And it was amazing. I loved it. So then, every time you audition for whatever you want. So I was doing the singing, dancing. My second year, I finally got into, I was like a swing role. So I got to do the singing, dancing show and acting. And then I did another year, and then I did another year.
And it just kept going.
That was a lot. And I got to perform in like a bunch of different shows, singing and dancing and acting. And it was like the best years of my life. It's amazing.
That was like your origin and welcome into Japan.
Kind of thing. But it's funny because like my first year living in Japan, I was living in Osaka, and I don't even think I went to Kyoto once. Maybe I went to Kyoto at this my second year. Like I lived in Osaka and I didn't even go to Kyoto. I went to other places, but I was so like enamored with being in a performing arts space and being surrounded by so many talented people. Like, my God, the people that perform there are just insanely talented. Nothing will make you feel less talented or less attractive than being surrounded by that many people. You're like, wow, I'm really not all that in a bag of chips.
Right.
But yeah, so that was my introduction into Japan, and it was amazing.
Wow. In today's world, especially with cameras on our phones that we carry around with us 24/7, everyone takes photos, but that doesn't mean that everyone is a photographer. There is a difference between taking quick snapshots of your lunch and intentionally using photographic techniques to craft an image that could be art. And if you are looking at picking up the art and the craft of photography in the pursuit of mastery as quickly as possible, then maybe you might find this interesting. So I've spent well over 10,000 hours in dozens and dozens of different countries all across the world, all in the pursuit of taking world-class images that stand the test of time. And as a Sony digital imaging ambassador, I've condensed down everything that I know, all of the techniques, all of the tips, all of the tricks, and structured them into 2 courses for beginner photographers that, as many of my students have said, have drastically accelerated their learning. And for many of them, just after a single month after doing my courses provides most of them with the confidence and the technical ability to use a camera, to also intentionally compose images, and to start to create a visual aesthetic, and also, of course, creating a style when editing photos. So if that sounds interesting to you, then check out my 30-day photography fundamentals course and my Lightroom editing masterclass over at patk.com/courses. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Now, back to the episode. In Brisbane, leading up to your performing transition and stuff like that, was creativity a really big part of your life, or was it just the performing kind of side of things as well? Or did you see that as like your creative outlet? Like,
I think,
what was your life like back then?
I think I've always been really drawn to like things that are creative. things that are not just like drawing, like, or like, you know, writing down words on a paper or solving equations and thinking critically, not my strong points. No, just like I've always been drawn to like movement and dancing and singing and expressing my emotions, you know, that kind of thing.
Very outwardly, bodily expression.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
Really cool.
I think sometimes I look back and I'm like, did I just like feeling special? Maybe. I don't know. But I did actually, I of course loved it. My mom's super creative. Mum is a painter now.
Cool.
Yeah. She was a teacher for the longest time, and now she's a really talented creator, painter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My brother's quite creative. Oh, yes. My sister's very creative as well. She's writing now. A lot of creativity in the family. Yeah. Yeah. So, and my brother is a YouTuber as well. Blender guru. Some people know, some people don't. But yeah, so I get a lot of mostly business advice, YouTube advice from him, because he's actually OG YouTube. Before you could even make money from YouTube, he was doing it.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Definitely want to talk about that.
Of course.
You know, you leading up into moving into Japan, did you do a lot of YouTube, or you were obviously exposed to it through your brother, but did you do a lot of YouTube when you moved into Japan, or was YouTube always like a thing that came after?
No, I never. I didn't even watch YouTube. Like I barely watched YouTube at all up until I started my YouTube channel. So like I lived in Japan for 4 years, and then I got a job working at Universal Studios Singapore.
Okay.
When I was in Singapore, I had heaps of time, like on call days, which is like you have to be within an hour of work, but you're not really doing anything that day.
Right.
So you can't really do much. And also Singapore is a tiny country.
It's very small.
It's so small.
You can literally walk one into the other in a day.
Yeah. I'd seen the entire country in the first 2 weeks. So I was like, wow, I need a hobby. And at the time I was watching a lot of Casey Neistat, his OG vlogger on YouTube. And like many, I was very inspired by his videos. And I was like, I should start a YouTube channel. I was like, I'm living overseas. At the time, I was traveling a lot to other Southeast Asian countries because it's really easy and cheap from Singapore.
Yep.
And so I would just make videos of my trips and my daily life and stuff like that. But yeah, prior to that, I didn't really even watch YouTube. Casey Neistat was kind of like my introduction to YouTube. He
was the gateway.
Yeah, he was the gateway. And like, it was like, I started watching his videos and I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be a YouTuber now. Like, what a crazy,
wow.
Why didn't I don't know. I think I act on things very quickly, as you'll see. But yeah, that's a good thing for me. But
you know, as well as the fact that Casey Neistat just in general was such an inspiration to an entire generation of YouTubers.
It's crazy the effect he's had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've been a long time YouTube watcher from Wong Fu Productions and Kev Jumper and
I suppose I did watch that kind of thing, like the old OG like Smosh and that kind of thing.
That kind of thing.
I did watch that.
Like, I've always been a really big YouTube watcher. It took me ages to get into it.
Yeah, I feel like the term YouTuber only really started like in like 2015, 2016, which is like around when I started. But like before that, it was just like people just sharing
random videos,
funny
on
videos
YouTube,
that they made, and
cat memes and
It like wasn't even like YouTube was its own thing. It's like, oh, you know that website that has the videos on it?
Yep.
Yeah. And now look at it. Crazy.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So at the start of your YouTube journey, you were still working at Universal.
I was.
So at Singapore, what was the kind of like schedule and workflow and your general life back then? Because YouTube takes a lot of time.
So much time. So much time.
And you're obviously in a foreign country, you've got a job, one that requires you to be on call for many of the days. What does your typical day like that look like when you're trying to throw YouTube in the mix and really start to build that?
Well, when I was at Universal Singapore, it wasn't really a problem because of the on-call days. Like I would only work like maybe 3 days a week. What a dream, by the way. That was just like the easiest contract ever. So I had so much time to make videos, and that was great. And I didn't like set myself a goal of like I have to upload every week, but I would try to upload at least once every 2 weeks, something like that. I knew it wasn't, I don't know, I think I'm usually the kind of person that like starts when I want to start something and I want to and I've really decided I'm going to do it, I'll kind of just go ham. And I just
Me too.
yeah. And like there's not really a chance that I'm going to fall off unless I've consciously decided it's not worth my time, and then I'll stop. But I'm not really the type of person to get demotivated by a lack of engagement or a lack of, attention or something like that.
Tenacious.
Yeah. Which is like, it's a good quality to have, but then also like, I don't know, sometimes someone should stop me, maybe. So anyway, I wasn't finding it too difficult when I was in Singapore. After that year, I was doing a bit of travel because it was like a 6-month gap where I didn't have another job coming up. So I was doing a bit of travel. I would just go and travel for a huge amount and then sit at home and edit all those videos and everything. And then I got the job at Tokyo Disney. I was so happy to go back to Japan. And I was like, cool, now I can make videos in Japan. Nice. Even more interesting.
So this is after 2 years of you being in Singapore?
So 1 year in Singapore and then like a half a year of not much.
Half, right?
Yeah. So I think I'd been doing YouTube for about a year and I just hit 10,000 subscribers. Nice. And then I moved to Tokyo and then worked at Disney. That was much more difficult to keep up with a schedule because I was working 5 days a week and they were long days, like at least 8 or 9 hours, I think.
Wow.
So you either start at 12 and finish at like 9 p.m. or you start at 8 and finish at 6 p.m. And if you're doing like anything I have to be careful about like what I say about Disney. Not like what I say about how I talk about it, because like there's like a thing, like you can't say I'm Cinderella. You have to say I was friends with Cinderella or something like that.
Right.
It's a bit weird with Disney. Anyway, so if you are doing anything, if you're friends with any of the characters, then it's so mentally draining.
I could
it's
imagine.
Like, yeah, I just have to be on it and smiling and happy, and you have to be like talking to people and listening and being a character. It's really, really, really draining.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm like, I can't do anything.
I don't want to talk to anyone.
But like I was still like in between the appearances. I don't know how to say that in a Disney friendly way. When I'm not out on stage, I would be in the break room like editing my videos.
Oh,
and like, yeah.
She's hustling.
Man, I don't know. I had a lot of energy back then. Do you feel like this? Like sometimes I look back and I'm like, where did I get the energy? Because I don't know if I could do that now.
Absolutely. Every day.
It's like when you're like young and driven, it's like a hunger that you can't even describe and you're like, nothing can stop me.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I don't know, a light breeze might stop me.
Honestly, yeah. I was like doing deadlifts this morning at the gym and like, I was like, I'm like, so much strain. I got up to like 150 and usually, back in the day I was like 220, 250, whatever. And then afterwards this young guy came in, did deadlifts in exactly the same spot. Yeah. Just like casually like lifting 200s. I'm like, I could this guy's fucking made of like rubber and magic, and I have to remind myself that this is the case.
Yeah,
this is like, if only.
I wonder.
The ambition.
Like, I know. It's like I wonder sometimes. I'm like, is it just because I'm getting older, or is it because you just like when you get excited and passionate about something, it's just like a drive you can't describe. But now, I mean, I have that drive, but for other things.
Yeah,
but
I think you still get that when you're first starting something.
Yes,
but I think the older you get, the less probably the shorter that honeymoon period that kind of lasts.
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah. Well, it's like once you learn a bit more about the industry, you learn like what different metrics mean, and it's. You can stop daydreaming a little bit sooner.
Right.
Like when you're younger, you're like, a bit of success. I must keep going, and I just like keep editing until I drop. But now I'm like, a bit of success. It doesn't mean much, On to the next video, I guess. Yeah.
So I mean, that's a very strong hustle. I remember when, I was around that age as well, I was like experimenting with businesses and creating my own businesses and stuff like that. And, my second business, supplement business, I was working full time as like a web designer, creative lead kind of person. And I was also running a supplement business like online on the side.
Hustle.
So it was like wake up at 6, work 4 hours or 3 hours, go to work, do all that kind of stuff, kind of work in between work and then come home, work on the business, and then do it all over again every day. And
crazy.
It's like just thinking about that now just is enough to make me feel tired just thinking about it.
And it's like even also at that time, you're probably also like, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to drink 2 liters of water every day. And you're like doing the whole thing, forgetting the fact that we also need to sleep for 8 hours. That for some reason, that's like not important. Everything else is more important. But now as I get older, I'm like, sleep is the most important thing I need in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you're doing YouTube for a little while in Japan after having done it for a year and a half at that point. What was the next couple of years of your life like performing and doing YouTube and kind of growing that on the side?
Well, yeah. So when I was at Disney for a year, and then I decided, because I was getting a few little like jobs, tourism promotion and things like that. And then it was starting to get to the point where I was like, oh, I think I was getting paid a decent amount. I was like, I think it was mostly just that the schedule was really quite tight and I didn't have a lot of time. And I didn't have as much time as I wanted to really enjoy my time working at Disney and like just being surrounded. I had such a great cast. It was just like the best year of my life. And I wanted to be able to enjoy that a bit more. So then at the end of my contract, I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to go full time on YouTube. That was the first time I decided to go full time. And then, so I didn't take another contract. It was a big deal. And I was like, okay, here we go. And then I hated it. It was like, I was so lonely. I really
wow.
I think because I was still living in Osaka and I was in a relationship that wasn't very good for me. And it was just so lonely. I had no friends. And like, I guess I didn't realize how much I relied on, like when I was doing contracts at Universal or Disney, like relying on like the people that I work with, they're also my friends, and that just becomes like your world.
Yep.
And so without that, I was like, oh, suddenly if I had friends around, I would have to schedule time to hang out with them. And if I didn't have friends around, you'd have to make some friends or something. And there wasn't any other creators in Osaka. And most of my friends had already finished and they'd left the country.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, this is lonely.
Oh, that's really not the like hurrah, amazing experience moment that most people think will happen.
Yeah. And like things were fine. Like I was getting jobs and like things were ramping up a little bit, like on the YouTube channel. And it was getting like, financially I was doing okay. But yeah, I like just really I was feeling very unfulfilled. I was like, this isn't fun. This is my worst nightmare. This is what I was like, oh, I hope that doesn't happen. Like when I decided not to take another contract. So just like magic, I got another job. It just so happened that somebody pulled out of one of the shows at Universal Studios Japan. And I managed to sneak in at the last minute. Nice. and I got the job in a plot twist stunt woman role, which is very fun. And that was just like solved all of my problems. Not solved all my problems, but it was like an incredible year in terms of like personal growth. And and I left a bad relationship. I am now in a wonderful relationship, and I had the confidence to be able to do that from the job that I was in, and I was being challenged every day, and it was amazing. And I think at that time it was kind of a personal growth kind of time for me. So I was uploading a little bit less to YouTube. Not really. I was still doing a lot on YouTube. But yeah, in that job I also got a few days on call as well. So I'd use those days to edit and things like that. But yeah, that was also during COVID. So I couldn't leave the country. So then I was like, oh no, now I wanted to, like the YouTube channel is called Currently Hannah. It was supposed to be Currently Hannah is in Japan. Currently Hannah is in Singapore, know. And then it was like, oh, Currently Hannah is in Japan.
Always.
For a very long time. Yeah. always.
Always Japan, always Hannah.
Only Japan. Which ended up being also amazing because it led me to discover, like, of course Japan has amazing hiking. I don't know why I didn't think that it would. It's like 80% mountains.
Yeah.
And yeah, discovered some of like the most amazing places. And I was able to because I had a job and I wasn't relying on like making sure I get sponsorships or making sure that I had tourism promotion jobs to take me around Japan. I was really able to make the content that I actually wanted and that really resonated with me. And I think people know when they watch someone on YouTube, they know if that person is actually passionate about it.
Yep.
Or if they're just doing it because they should or because there's a sponsor or something like that.
Sure.
And they'll know if it's coming from the heart or not. And so like ironically, it's like when you stop caring about these things and trying to catch on to trends and trying to do what you think people want, you actually just do what you want to do. Then what's the word? Then that's when people actually start getting more interested because they're like, oh, this chick's actually doing something different, or she seems really happy, or, you know, whatever.
A very huge common denominator that I find amongst like really successful YouTubers, or at least successful in the sense of like, maybe it's not views and numbers and subscribers or whatever, but at least how it makes people feel, and especially about like the content and how they're creating it, is like, at least as far as I've noticed anyway, is this detachment from YouTube being such a crucial part of their life. So if everything is hinging on your YouTube performance, you do fall into that trap of like, oh, I need to follow the trends, or, you know, I need to make something that performs really well, blah, 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 blah. But when you have a job that pays your salary, and you don't have to worry about, you know, how much ad rev you're going to get, or what sponsors, or where your sponsors going to come from next month or whatever, the content is so different.
It's so different.
It's so
much
different.
Better. This is like always the advice that I give people when they're like, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to, you know, I'm thinking I might quit my job and all that stuff. And maybe it feels a bit too early for them. I always just want to say, like, that's great. Hold on to that ambition and that determination and drive. But like, consider how your content might change if you have to rely solely on sponsorships to do that. Because in the time, I think because I wasn't getting sponsorships, I wasn't relying on that to take me around Japan. Just going and actually being like, I want to make some hiking videos because I was inspired. Because I was inspired by Craig Adams at the time, and I was doing some hiking videos, and I was like, oh, this is a thing that I really, really fucking love. Sorry, can I swear?
Yes, you can swear as much as you want.
Cool, because I do that a lot. And then, you know, then bought a Jeep and, you know, turned it into doing more camping and stuff like that. And then now I've got an audience of people that love what I love. And that's the best case scenario.
Such a beautiful thing.
My gosh, I just don't think I would have stuck to YouTube, like stuck with it if I had an audience of people that wanted something different than what I wanted to make. Or like that they're not really interested, and they're like, that's nice. But when people are really like, damn, this is sick, or like, you look so happy here, I'm like, happy for you, I just love watching this kind of stuff, then that feels so much more, it's so much more
rewarding,
fulfilling, all of that, than just like numbers. Like, numbers are good, and it's hard to not fall into the trap of like, you know, the YouTube, like on YouTube, for those who don't know, on the YouTube studio, every time we upload a video, they pit it against the past 10 videos you've made. And then they fight. And they fight to the death, and they tell you how that video is performing compared to the rest of them. 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. So if it's a 10 out of 10, it's like, my week is ruined. And it's so hard to
and then the number one gives you like confetti.
It actually gives you confetti.
Literally confetti, like popping out and all
on
the
the
rest
screen.
of it.
It's like,
yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
And then if you get 10 out of 10, it's like, this video is not performing as well as your usual content.
Yeah.
See if you can mix it up. And you're like, stop it, YouTube.
Really,
I'm trying.
Really get you.
I know that they're doing what they can to help creators. And it is helpful to know how the video is performing, but it hurts. Yes. It hurts to my soul.
They don't have to make it so loud on either extremes.
Yeah, I think the confetti's too much. I think we should do away with the confetti.
The confetti is too much. And then when you get 10 out of 10 and it's like, you know, your regular viewers aren't watching this, that kills me the most. It's like, I'm like,
why do you do this to me, YouTube? I know. It's so true. I mean, all helpful metrics, but it makes it really difficult to not get affected by it.
If you're a photographer visiting Japan, you probably want all of the most visually attractive, stunning spots to go to and photograph. And in Japan, there is most certainly no shortage of that. That is why I have been coming back to Japan nonstop since 2016 and eventually decided to also move here. But as an English speaker, finding all of the good spots is hard. And doing all of the research on how to get there, in what season, with what gear, and all of the other nuances and considerations that lead to a great image is tiring and time-consuming. So I've made it easy for you. My photography guides to Japan and Tokyo are the best-selling photography guides on the internet. and I've been doing this for many, many years. And in them, I show off all of the best spots this country has to offer and how to capture them, saving you time, money, and stress, and simplifying the planning process, enabling you to have a better time here. So if that sounds interesting, then head on over to pack.com/Japan guide to check out my photography guides to Japan and Tokyo. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Now, back to the episode. So, I mean, you've been doing YouTube now for 7 years?
I think it might be 8 years now.
8 years? Long time, man.
It's a long time.
Long time.
And since I started, it's been the biggest thing in my life.
Wow.
Like it's always the thing in the back of your head kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, especially now in terms of like the phase of life that you're in.
Yeah.
Like,
especially being full-time, of course it is. Yeah.
I want to know, everyone wants to transition into being a YouTuber. You've had 2 transitions.
I did. Yes.
Which
the first one wasn't great. Second one was good.
But like the first, I would love to talk about both of them because especially, the first one and the failure that you have gives you so much insight into how you can do it better next time, right?
Yes.
So what is the contrasting kind of mind space that you were in the first time you transitioned into YouTube full time versus the second time?
I think like the first time I was still very young and didn't know myself well enough. Didn't know myself well enough to know that I was in a bad relationship and I was just in like a bad, not like I thought I knew myself kind of thing, but I really didn't. I don't know. I'll probably look back on myself now and be like, she thought she knew. But anyway,
I mean, you're young and somewhat arrogant to some degree, and
but yeah, I like looking back, it was like, oh, she was really like, she was doing her best, but it wasn't. I just honestly, like the second time around, it was just so much easier because I'm in a great relationship and I had so many friends around me, like really good quality friends, and people that didn't have anything to do with YouTube, and that's great. Because then you can take yourself out of the industry a little bit and out of the numbers and
so important. Important.
And I mean, it happens in every industry though. Like if I'm hanging out with people from USJ, like the conversation will inevitably go back to work, and
of course.
It just happens.
It's whatever the group is into as like a connecting fabric.
Yeah.
What gives you or especially young Hannah, what gives you the courage to, after working in Singapore for a little while, to be like, okay, now I'm in Japan, what gives you the courage to be like, okay, I am successful enough at YouTube now at this point that I see a path for making it full time? Like what signals did you have to be like, okay, I'm ready to do this?
I think the signals were that I was making enough money from YouTube AdSense, and few sponsorships, like a integration, which is like a 1-minute ad within a video, or a full dedicated video, like Japan Tourism Board will send you somewhere. And so I think it's because I was making enough from that, or like there was enough of them coming in where I was like, I can pay the rent and kind of get by and maybe make a little bit of savings. So that was the main thing, just that I was able to make enough money and that I wasn't able to make any more money. Like I'd hit the ceiling because of my job was taking up too much of my time.
Right.
So if I wanted to make more money, I had to switch, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing. And then the second time round was actually involuntary. I won't go too much into the details, but so I left my other job and I started.
Want to talk about that?
We just got to scoot on by that one. Had an amazing time and it was great, but I was in a very different mindset, and by that point I was definitely making enough money. It felt so much easier as well. I knew more of the direction of my channel, and I think I'd found the right audience of people, and I knew what I wanted to do, and it was just so much clearer. The path was clearer, and I was more confident, and I had the right support system around me, and it just felt so different. Like only 2 years difference, like 3 years in between those two periods, but like make the hugest difference. Yeah.
Throughout that entire period of time, were you making the same, if not more, on like ad rev, for example, in order for you to like continue that confidence over time? Like, did you have the same amount of, say, weekly or monthly ad income from the first time you left versus like the second time you left? Or did you have more?
I definitely had more the second time. Yeah. So the first time, well, I mean, AdSense for me doesn't increase so much. I don't know. Maybe it's just the nature of my videos or something. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, what's the word? Like embarrassed a little bit. Like if you look at the number of subscribers and then the number of views per video, I'm like, the gap's getting bigger.
The ratio.
Kind of thing. The ratio, man. The ratio is intense. But then, you look at like PewDiePie is not getting 100 million views per video.
No.
Like, it comes and it flows and it changes and that kind of thing. So anyway, my AdSense is like, it's a bit more now than it was before. Definitely it is. Sorry. I think I'm blowing it up too much. But the amount from sponsorships and like just the amount that I was able to charge was so much higher. But also like when I first went full time, I was so early in the industry as well. Like it was still kind of early for Japan tourism boards to be sponsoring people to travel around Japan.
I remember that period very well.
Yeah.
Even from like the Instagram side of things, like,
yeah.
People, especially tourism boards. I remember when Japan was first starting to get into the whole, like, let's do influencers and, the tourism boards were like hitting people up. And I remember the amount of variation you would get between one agency and the next in terms of the same like campaign that they're fighting over is wild, absolutely wild.
I could talk about this for hours. Yeah.
Let's do that in just a bit. But I mean,
yeah, the tourism jobs are a whole different thing in Japan compared to other countries as well. It's insane. Yeah, but yeah, so I think like also was very early in my my video producing era as well. Sure. So I didn't know how much I should charge. You know, all of those growing pains where you're like, am I charging too much, too little, or whatever? Looking back, definitely charging too little, but didn't we all?
Yep.
And so like when I went full time the second time around, I was like, okay, now I know a little bit more about how much I should be charging and what my content was worth to companies and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was way more secure the second time around.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So in the second time around, you were a lot more stable emotionally as well, right? So tell me about that, Chris coming into the picture. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Never done that before. That felt weird.
Wow.
Wow. So just excuse me.
Beautiful ring there.
Thank you. It is beautiful.
Yeah. Tell me about that period of life because, going through two transitions and two partners, obviously two very, very different experiences.
Yeah.
Take me through, your mind state back in the second time and where you were emotionally and how, Chris kind of gives you the foundation to really push off from.
Yeah. Oh, it's just like night and day, like the first time to the second time. Because like I felt more free to be myself and to go hard on the things that I really like and not trying to be anything else. That like gives me the confidence and the audacity to go after the things that I really wanted. And and just to be happier. Like happiness is so underrated. Like it's just like
forever underrated, yeah.
Yeah. And it just made like everything became so much easier. And even if I was stressed about something, it didn't really matter because I'm happy. And it kind of took the pressure a little bit off YouTube in a way because I wasn't relying on YouTube to bring me happiness. I'd get it in other ways and like I could have a much healthier balance. I still struggle with balancing YouTube and life, but just like getting my satisfaction or like my satisfaction with life from the people around me as opposed to my job is the only thing that can bring me true happiness.
So important.
It's so important. And I think, if I could tell myself anything going back to like the first time that I tried to go full time, it's like YouTube's great, but there's better things in life, more important things. And like just my because I was happier and because I was more confident because of that, And because Chris was able to help me in taking photos sometimes, or he would fly the drone if I'm too busy. Like when I would go to do like a sponsored trip, for example, I always ask if I can bring Chris with me because it just like takes the mental load off and the physical load of like making sure I get all of the shots. Because they always want like a YouTube video and 3 Instagram posts and a reel. And it's like, I'm doing vertical, horizontal photos. I don't know. It doesn't like, I lose track of it. And so it just takes the mental load off. And so he's able to do those kinds of things and to pick up the slack with things when I'm maybe really focused on the YouTube video, for example. And that's helped my content to be able to flourish and just become a lot easier. And when the job is easier, I am happier. Therefore, I am happier on camera. Therefore, the videos are just better in general. It just like, it all just like comes together where I'm like, happiness is the key. It's the only thing that matters. Happiness. Yeah.
Absolutely. So he's now a really, really big part of your YouTube channel and your life, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you guys have any formal structures with like how you work together on the channel, or is it literally just like you travel to a place and then he does his thing with flying the drone and then gives you the footage and he's like, I want to fly this spot, or like, you know, I want to take these photos, or like, do you guys have like a set list of things you need to cover, and then like what's the process when you're working with you know, your partner?
If we're doing a sponsored trip, sometimes we will be a bit like, okay, I think I really need to focus on the video for this one because it needs to be more narrative focused, or, you know, maybe it's not visually as interesting. So I need to make the story good. I need to make it all connect together. So I'll really be focused on the YouTube video. I feel like if I'm doing YouTube, it's really hard to focus on anything else. I can't even take stories, like Instagram stories, you just forget, like so in the zone on YouTube. So if that's the case, then maybe I might say, Chris, do you mind getting vertical shots? So maybe this is a good example, like when we did the grand class, like in one of Japan's bullet trains, they've got a luxury like first class experience. We did a video for that. And yeah, so the client wanted a YouTube video and they wanted a reel. Did they want any photos? Maybe they didn't want any photos, but we needed photos for the thumbnail as well. So I said to Chris, like, can you make sure that you're getting videos on your iPhone? I don't know why, for some reason, like iPhone videos look better in a reel than like camera videos. Sometimes, like if I'm filming it from my camera, and then sometimes like the lighting's kind of awkward, it just looks better on my phone. I don't know. Anyway, so I would ask him to get the vertical videos and maybe some photos, and I'll focus on the video. But if we're just traveling for fun and it's just free and I'm like, I might make a YouTube video from it, then it'll just be, I'll be taking videos. He might fly the drone just because he loves flying drones. And then, maybe I'll be like, oh, that's a really good shot there. Like, could you take a photo of me or something? In that situation, it's kind of like, if he wasn't there, then I would have just set up a tripod and taken the photo myself, like, which is what I used to do. But then like he also wants to get his own, like he's like, oh, if you go stand over here and do this, then this would look really good, something like that. So sometimes it's just what I want. I'm like, can you do me a favor and do this? But sometimes he wants to
do his own content.
Yeah, do his own thing.
Because he does his own content now as well, right? So he's a full-timer as well.
Yeah.
So what was the kind of progression for him? Because it's very rare that you get two people in the same couple who both do full-time content. So.
Yeah. Well, it can be tricky. And this is like the thing that I've talked to you about already. And like, so I'm in Tokyo at the moment because I'm looking for an apartment because I'm moving to Tokyo. Very exciting. But when we're moving, we're also going to get an office so that we can keep work and life separate. Because I don't think I could do it with anyone but Chris, but we spend like 24, if there were 25 hours in the day, we would spend 25 hours together. Like the entire day is together. And it hasn't, like there are times obviously when, you know, I get a little frustrated with something or whatever, or it's tricky because then it's like, oh, he didn't do the dishes. So then I'm angry because he didn't do the dishes, but now we've got to work together. And, you know, that's when like life can get difficult.
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, it's probably me that's not doing the dishes, but but you know, it can be tricky to keep life and work separate.
Absolutely.
And so having an office, even though we're both going to be working in the office, I think it's just going to make life so much easier that like we're not going to accidentally work till 11 p.m. and then, oh no, we haven't had dinner. Oh, like who's going to cook dinner? Like that kind of thing. It kind of forces you to be a bit better with time management. And at the moment, I think we both struggle with time management. So having an office might help maybe. With that?
You will.
Okay, good.
As someone
good.
who has an office that's separate to their apartment, I can speak from experience. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually another thing like at the moment that we're very excited about is we're starting a company or like already started. We just need to sign the papers basically. I mean, to be honest, it's mostly for taxes, just makes things easier. But also I want to try and like branch out a little bit into like not all of my income coming just from my YouTube channel, but
Very
having
smart.
something that's separate from me that maybe a client could find me through the YouTube channel, but it's not going to go on my YouTube channel. Like, so that might manifest in like video production. Like if a tourism board wants a video and I'm like, sorry, I'm too expensive. My YouTube channel is too expensive for you or something like that. Maybe it's not. I just don't want to do it. But
That's probably the case.
yeah, mostly the case. It's just I don't want to do it. Or like we can talk about that as a whole other thing.
Yeah,
but
I feel that.
But yeah, having like a video production company, then I can be like, well, I can still make a promo video for you.
Yep.
I can give you everything that you want, but then you use it on your stuff. Because I've done that a little bit for some companies, and I've done a bit of consulting as well for like social media and for like Japan Tourism Board, where they've come to me and asked for my opinion about something where I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool that like people think I know stuff. And then, you know, I think about it for a second. I'm like, I do know things. That's also pretty cool. Now I think I'm maybe at the stage where I'm starting to have the audacity to branch out a little bit beyond my YouTube channel, which is very like, it's what I've always done, which is I'm always thinking ahead in the future. It's the reason I started a YouTube channel in the first place was that as a performer, you've got a really limited timeline that you can work until, especially as a woman. If you want to have kids, you might age. Oh no. And then you can't be a performer anymore. You know, then you can't be a Disney princess if you look old. So anyway, so that was my
Harsh realities, man.
It is.
Damn.
Hey man, it's rough out there.
That's rough.
So then I was like, I need to have something to go to after performing because the time, you know, I might have to stop when I'm mid-30s or something like that. Or I probably will want to stop at that point. I might want to do something else. So I was like, I'll start a YouTube channel so that I've got something else. And it ended up working. Amazing. So now I'm like, okay, do I want to do YouTube forever? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like when I have kids and I have a family and all of that. I might still want to keep doing YouTube, or I might feel like this isn't working, or I want to focus more time on my family, or I want to, you know, branch out. It's a huge life event. It will change everything. I'm sure of it.
Yep.
So we're kind of like prepping for a change to be able to have something that could work independently of me, which is good. And something that I think about as a woman in business, you've got to like, if I'm going to have kids and that's the main way that we make money, we need to make sure that it's able to work without me as well. Or, you know, who knows what life will be like after that. So
then presumably you guys would work on that together. And I guess this kind of sounds like a production agency kind of thing. I mean, admittedly, just you two for now. But then I'm sure there's always, you know, opportunities for expansion and all the rest of it. So is it fair to say then that the two of you really love the whole content creation process such that you're willing to continue doing it without having your own likeness and all the rest of it? Because, you know, there are some content creators out there, especially on YouTube, who only everyone has different reasons for doing things.
Yes.
And sometimes YouTubers, they don't like the craft of it, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's more of like the business side or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's weird because like there'll be sometimes where I'm like, I'm not going to make a video. And then you go there and I'm like, oh, it's really beautiful. And I get that like itchy kind of like, where's my camera? I need to make a video quick. You know, I've changed my mind. I'm making a video kind of thing where I like can't stop myself. But then sometimes there's periods where like I've been a little bit burnt out in the past few months. It was just so busy at the start of the year that when we went to America, I filmed little things on my phone, but not much. And I don't plan to make any kind of YouTube video. When I was in New York City, I got the itch a little bit, but I also just wanted,
get the itch in New York.
Yeah, it's such a crazy cool city, man. But I also just really wanted to enjoy the time there with Chris, and it was his first time there as well. And we made a video for his YouTube channel. Actually. I know.
He's got a YouTube channel now?
Wow. Well, he's making little things here and there.
Nice. Keep it up, Chris.
He's dabbling.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes I get the itch to do it even though I've said I won't. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I should make a video here, but my heart's really not in it. But I think like when things are fun and I'm not burnt out, like, I really love the process. And I'm feeling like at the moment I'm really enjoying the kind of like creative director, but also like the almost the marketing. I guess it's the marketing side, but like talking to a client, like if it's a company they want to like sell this cup, but then like asking them like who's your audience, or like what do you think is the kind of person that's going to buy this cup? Okay, it might be someone who's into minimalism and you know they are after a certain kind of aesthetic and it looks very like thoughtful and intentional. Okay, well, then designing a video based around that theme, and then what are the ways it's going to make people want to buy it? Stuff like that is actually very interesting to me.
Almost like the producing side of it.
Yeah. So I think, and I've done it a couple of times now. Well, I did it obviously for selling my travel guide, like the 2 like launch videos that I made for that, or 3 or 4 launch videos, I can't remember. But like learning, that whole process was so interesting, learning just like marketing and like sales, a whole extra thing that creatives had never really touched before usually.
It's honestly, in my opinion, and definitely, you know, a little bit biased, having done business many times in the past, marketing for creators is like the biggest unlock.
Yeah.
100% the biggest unlock.
It's changed everything.
Especially once you like you've had a couple of years under your belt and you know you've got quote unquote success and you've got a sellable audience or whatever the case may be. You know, being able to truly understand, and I'm not just talking about like I'm going to make like my website look nice and you know well, I'm going to do some ads and like actual marketing.
Yeah, writing copy and like
the whole skill set.
Learning about power words. What's a power word, you might ask? That's words that evoke emotion, like unlock and discover and explore. And, you know, that I like learning all stuff like that was so fascinating to me and I really enjoyed it. And then also obviously to see like the fruits of your labor and like to see it actually sell. I'm like, wow, I can do that. That's really crazy. So yeah,
let's talk about that because you released a guide, Beyond the Tourist Trail. It's called. How was the process behind all of that? So from the very beginning, you know, there's so many steps. There's so many things to go through. I know we talked about it quite a lot during the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, in your own words, I would love to know like what the process was like because I've done 2. I know it's a lot of work.
So it's crazy. So it first started, I think, because after a couple of years of just like driving around Japan and like building an audience of people that love the outdoors and hiking and camping and seeing stuff that is not on the usual tour guides, that Chris mentioned like, oh, have you ever thought about like selling your pins, like your Google Maps pins or something? And I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. And then it kind of manifested to like, okay, what if we sold like a photo book? Like, because I love like a coffee table, like physical photo book that has like a QR code and that tells you like where the location is or something like that. And then I looked into making a photo book and then I realized, oh, it's really expensive and really hard to find a company that does print on demand, that like you order it and then they print it, rather than like you have to print 1,000 books and then sell 1,000 books and hope that it works. So yeah, it was just, and then your profit margins are so much smaller because you've got to pay for a book that's probably $50 already, and then the cost of it, and then shipping, and then you've got a $100 book, and then you're going to hope that people want it enough.
And then you also have the time overhead of like having to ship everything out and like, you know.
To get one sample, it might take 2 weeks to ship to you, and then it doesn't work. You're like, oh, I got to wait another 2 weeks to get it. Yeah.
Physical is so slow.
Yeah, it's very, very slow. So then my visa got rejected and we both struggled with this one.
We did.
So I was stuck in Australia and I had nothing to do. And so what better time to start working on a travel guide than when you're stuck in a country, when you're waiting for a visa.
Lockdowns around you everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I was depressed as fuck, like so bad. I'm saying it in a joking way, but I was very, very depressed. Just because like my visa was rejected and it had been rejected twice at that point and just waiting for another one. And it took 4 months the third time around. So just waiting, just feeling like it was never going to happen. My life was going to be over.
Meanwhile, Chris is in Japan.
And Chris was stuck in Japan because he was still working at Universal. So he couldn't even come to visit as well. Crazy, awful time. But the silver lining is that it gave me the time necessary to work on making the travel guide. So then Yeah, I'd had the idea of making a travel guide, just like an ebook, like digital PDF, years ago, and I wanted to do like a Tokyo hidden gems back when I lived in Tokyo. But then looking back, I'm like, oh, they weren't hidden gems. Oh, I'm glad I didn't release that one. That would have been bad for the image. But yeah, it didn't work because I just couldn't figure out Adobe InDesign. It was such a steep learning curve.
Very complicated piece of software.
Louise.
Yeah, to start with, yeah.
So then this time round, I like asked you like what software you'd used in the past. And I was like, these all seem very complicated. And then I was like, I could just learn Photoshop finally, but I didn't want to do that still because I don't like Photoshop. But then, yeah, I just went with like the lazy person's design program, which was Canva. And it's just so easy. I was like, wow, this is great. So then, yeah, created it in Canva. And it was a full 3 months, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It was the first time I'd actually had like a proper schedule because I didn't have anything else. I didn't have anyone else. I was living in my parents' spare bedroom at the time. So lucky that I could do that, by the way. And all my friends were working during the week and had the weekends off. So I was like, okay, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And I had the weekends off. And I was like, wow, is this what it's like? It was really tough.
Going back to full-timership. How do you normal people do it?
I know. Yeah. I mean, I think it would have been a lot easier if I wasn't so depressed, but you know. Yeah. But anyway, so it was 3 months. It was a whole thing. Learned so much. And I think a lot of that time was taken up just by like little menial tasks that like the whole time I was doing it, I was like, this is a waste of my time. I shouldn't be doing it. But I'm glad that I did so that I could really go through the process and learn what it takes. You know, like little things like all the spacing between all of the little icons or whatever has to be exact, or else it looks a bit off.
I'm like a huge
the kerning
stickler for that.
Yeah. I couldn't let it not be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the kerning of the text has to be like correct, or it just looks weird or whatever. And then sent like a draft to you, and I sent a draft to my brother and to my friends as well. And I was like, tell me, be honest, give me your honest feedback. And that like helped so much. And then yeah, I think like by the time it actually came to release it and like making my 2 launch videos and all of that, just working so hard like towards this one thing. And I've never worked that hard towards anything before. It's crazy. Like never worked so long towards one main thing. You know, usually a video might take me a month to make or something, but this is like such a huge endeavor.
Especially as a YouTuber, because it's like as a YouTuber, you're making one video at a time. It takes you maybe a week or 2 tops, whatever, or like you hang on to bits and pieces for like a month or 2 or whatever, but like not consistently every single day, 3 months in a row.
Yes. And also like the lead up to it, I wanted to have 2 launch videos that had their own videos in themselves that were like 10 unconventional locations to visit in Japan and 50 things you should know before you visit Japan. And in those videos has an advertisement for the guide. This is like advice that my brother had gotten about how to launch a product.
Absolutely.
2 launch videos that have value on their own. So then people go, she gave me value. What's in her book? Cool, I'll buy the book.
Yep.
And then also little mini launch videos for the website, blah, 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 blah. And also finishing a guide. By the end, like my eye was just twitching constantly. Just constantly like I couldn't sleep. I was like lying in bed wide awake, like, oh my God, what if it doesn't? It was so nerve-wracking. And then, you know, you hit like publish and I'm like, I haven't gone to sale yet. What's happening? Like freaking out. I'm like, what if it's a flop, you know?
Yep.
And the first video I uploaded, it wasn't doing well views wise. And I was like, quick, change the thumbnail. You know, I did all of that. And I did change the thumbnail and it helped. And now it's like a very popular video. And yeah, but like since releasing a travel guide has like changed my life. Like not even like exaggerating, has changed my life. And now I'm like, oh, that's why everyone says make your own product. Because now I'm like, oh, I don't want or even really need to work for sponsors anymore. And I'm like, if I want to make a sponsorship, or I want to make more money, I should advertise my own product, because then it's free advertising and the money comes back to me, kind of thing.
And it's something that you 100% wholeheartedly believe in, because you made it.
Yes.
You know?
I don't feel like a sellout,
you don't feel like a sellout.
I worked so hard on it and I truly am passionate about it. Yeah. And I've gotten really excellent feedback from it as well. So like I know that people love it as well. I'm like, that makes me feel amazing. It's like the most fulfilling thing ever. And it's also the most passive income-y kind of thing I've ever made as well.
Absolutely.
Anytime anyone's like, 6 passive income ideas. And then it's like, number 1, start a YouTube channel. I'm like, get out of here. There is nothing passive about a YouTube channel.
Absolutely
in
not.
some ways, like I'm still getting money even if I haven't uploaded in a month. But if I don't upload for another month, it's gonna half and half and half.
Exactly.
Until it's gone.
Literally.
Yeah. I think we talked about this already.
Yeah, that happened to me when I just recently took like a 6-month break. Is like it was quite literally half and then half and then half, and I'm still on the mend of like now getting back into it.
Yeah,
and I'm like starting at the very bottom again, and this is like I haven't had this little income from YouTube. Not that I need it, but since I began, it's really crazy.
It's very interesting.
But yeah, making your own digital products 100% is the biggest thing for creators, you know. But making something that is different is the biggest unlock, I feel. I think like one thing that I really enjoyed about yours is the whole premise that it is a different book.
Yeah.
You know, it is off the beaten path kind of locations and stuff like that. I have not saying this to brag or anything, but I have a very strange problem at the moment where my books have been so successful over the last 5-6 years that they've been selling, that all of the places, well, the majority of 80% of them are all common places now.
Right. Yeah.
So like,
it's a good point.
It's hard for me to be like, I'm stuck in the situation where I'm like, do I give people the places everyone wants to go to?
Yeah.
Or the places that I find really nice that aren't popular?
Yeah.
And then like what happened, like there's a whole thing about gatekeeping. Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, there so is.
But there's also like, you know, when someone's looking to buy one of these things, like what is the mix of things that you give them so that they'll be satisfied with what they get?
It's so hard to figure out what places to put in the guide and what not. And then even to call it a hidden gem. I'm like,
hidden to who?
Is it a hidden gem? Like, yeah, there's only been like one person that was like really hating on me in the comments of one of my posts or whatever that was like, there's nothing hidden about these gems, blah, 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 blah. I've been to all these places. And I was like, I guarantee you've not been to all these places. I'm like, Japanese people don't even know where this is.
Exactly.
Like, don't come for me. Some of these places aren't even on Google Maps yet.
I bet you don't even live in Japan.
I know, yeah.
How
I
dare
know.
you.
And I was like, but I think it's like if you know the audience that you want to go for. So like my audience was people who have already been to Japan once or twice and they've already seen like the main spots or whatever. And also maybe people that are interested in the outdoors and, you know, they want to get away from the crowds of people, want to maybe get away from the city, then that's my audience. And so I don't mind having, like there's like 1 or 2 locations where I'm like, should I replace it with something else or should I don't know. I feel a bit the same way. Like I'm like, I don't know, tourism is increasing. Maybe it's not so hidden anymore. And maybe I will do that. Like I'll have different editions of like, you know, 2025 edition or whatever. And I've got some updates to it and send it out to free for people who've already bought it, something like that. But knowing the audience of people and like knowing what's relevant to them. But I think I could really only do that because I was so because I was going ham at my content on my YouTube channel at the time. And I knew that people would be interested in these kinds of places because they told me about it in the comments already. And so that's what gave me the confidence to really know like people will enjoy this. There are still like some spots where I'm like, was it a good choice? I don't know. Like, will people like it? I was doubting myself so much in the lead up to it. But, you know, I've had like really great feedback from some people. And I don't know where I was going with that.
Changed your life forever.
It changed my life forever. It did. It did. And now because I don't need to do sponsorships, anytime like Tourism Bureau or something like that wants me to make a video, I just ask for so much money.
Yeah.
So much money.
Highball every time.
Highball everything. And sometimes they say yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are insane.
Especially in Japan
I would
nowadays.
never. Yeah.
You know, one thing about the tourism increasing is the budgets have also increased
budgets are huge
substantially
now.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a job like at the start of the year. And up until that point, that was already triple the rate that I would normally pay. I was like, they're never going to say yes to this. And they did. And I was like, fuck.
Oh.
Okay. And like I had a great time. And the job was actually like a fun one. And then recently there was like a company that like another area, like I'm not going to say where or what or whatever, but like I was like, I don't know, 4 times my other previous highest amount. And they said yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've just been lowballing it my entire career. But also like, so now it's crazy that like the snowball effect is that I'm now doing less tourism jobs, but getting paid way more than I would have if I was taking all of them, kind of thing, which just makes me so much happier.
It's crazy the amounts of small but significant changes you can make as a mature creator that just change the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely change the game. Like, you know, like we're saying, having digital products and a different revenue stream, and then being able to just not have the pressure to conform to sponsors and campaigns and all that kind of, and only pick and choose what you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a massive unlock that is just such a virtuous cycle upwards.
Yeah.
And I fully am so happy for you.
Yeah, thank you.
about this whole digital product thing. You know, what's the next thing you're gonna be making product wise?
Yeah, well, while we spoke about just a bit earlier about like trying to make my income a little more passive because I want to have a family in the next 5 years or something like that. Yeah, I'm working on another travel guide at the moment. I want to eventually have covered all of Japan.
Nice.
But really make sure that every place, so like the places that were in my current travel guide, the places I've been to like multiple times and I just love them and I'm always the only person there and it's amazing. But I was only able to do that because I was living in Osaka at the time. So a lot of the places are closer to Osaka or Kansai area. Some of them are up like closer to Tokyo as well. Places that I could visit with the Jeep and I could spend a lot of time there. So in order to do that for like the northern part of Japan, like Tohoku and Hokkaido, I'm like, that's going to take a lot of time. And I want to be able to be like, I'm going to spend 3 months just driving around and seeing all of the little nooks and crannies. Cause that's the gold. That's the stuff that really like sets it apart from like, dude, okay, I have a story to tell. I did this job once. This is all relevant, I promise. I did this job once for like tourism bureau somewhere, doesn't matter. And then there was this other influencers that joined the trip. And one of them they weren't full-time. They were working for a travel agency as well. They're from Australia, they're not living in Japan. So she was like, yeah, I work for a travel agency part-time and I write like articles and stuff for them. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like what kind of articles? And she's like, yeah, I usually make articles about like traveling. Like I make little itineraries or places to visit in this part of the world or whatever. I was like, oh, that's cool. So they're drawing from like your previous travel experience or something. She's like, no, I think they just want me to write like itineraries and I just like Google them and then write the itineraries. I was like, wait, so you've never actually been there? She was like, yeah, I know. It's a bit weird. Like I'm like writing itineraries for people like that I've never actually been there myself, but you know, it's what they want. And I was like, that is blew my mind. I was like, wow. It was at that point that I like realized like the importance of actually having been there. And also just like the importance of like having a YouTube channel or having some kind of an online presence where people can see that you've actually been there and they can see that you are legit passionate about it. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, that's insane.
It gives me the cringe.
It does.
It's straight away.
Gave me the cringe immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I want people to know that people are making travel guides for places they have never been in their lives.
Yes.
And they're all just pulling from the same articles. It's like ChatGPT. It's just recycled like words on the internet.
It's recycled garbage.
It's crazy.
Like I am so like passionate about like making good things. And I've just seen, especially in the creator boom recently, you know, everyone's kind of like I've been doing this since the beginning. Like when I first made my first guides, there was no one doing guides at all.
No.
I was literally the first one.
Yeah,
like
that's
that I know
crazy
of
good.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
As close as you can get to it. Now everyone and
There's
the
a lot of
dogs
guides.
are doing guides, right?
Yeah.
So many bad ones. So many like easy ways for people to make money that they latch onto, and then like they're like, you know, what is the quickest path to like making a quick dollar or whatever, and then it's just low quality garbage that's out there sometimes.
It is. And I've bought a guide that was like a bit low quality, or maybe I just wasn't the right audience for it or something like that. But I bought it from this creator that I really like their stuff. And I was like, seems like it was one that helps other creators like find more jobs and that kind of thing.
Right.
I was like, it might have some really interesting insight. And I bought this guide. It was like $60 or something. It wasn't cheap. And then, no, it was like $100. Anyway. And then I went into the guide and it just gave me nothing. It felt so low effort. And it really gave me like the ick for that creator. And I unfollowed them and I was like, that makes me frustrated because I really liked your stuff and I thought that you were a high quality, high value giving kind of person. And then it just felt like a cash grab. And I was like, it just totally lowered. It was a good learning experience. I was like, wow, I'm really glad that I actually put my heart and soul into my travel guide, because I would have hated if someone had the same experience with my guide. And maybe it did. Like maybe it's just not the right audience for someone or whatever. But yeah, you really made me realize the value of like giving high value information. And just not just like putting out garbage just because people might buy it. Sure, they might buy it, but they're never going to buy another thing from you ever again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Being very, very faithful to the people who have invested in you in some way is like such an important thing.
And like valuing your stamp of approval. It's like so important. Like now I feel like, especially since creating the travel guide, and then people might look to me for like Japan travel advice, or like they just kind of like trust your opinion a lot more. If you're a YouTuber especially, they're spending so much time watching you. They feel like they know you. They feel like they connect with you. So whatever you say, I'm going to believe it, kind of thing. And I think that now I'm like, I feel like I need to be much more careful about if I say like, not that I've been like blasé in the past, but I'm now like, I need to protect my brand way more than I need to protect the sponsorship.
Absolutely.
I really don't care about the sponsorship anymore.
Good.
Which is good.
You shouldn't.
And only because, you know, I have a travel guide.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's changed my life, is that now I'm like, oh, I can value myself so much more. I can value my opinion and my relationship with my audience. And then in turn, that gives me stability. Stability is not found in sponsorships.
Absolutely not.
It's found in creating a valuable brand that people know that they can trust.
Yep.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. We have this discussion right now in terms of guides and all the rest of it, but it's worse in courses.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many freaking courses.
In
man.
courses, and it's kind of like, you know, you spend so much money in courses.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to like find good ones.
Yeah.
You know, what are the signals, what are the flags that you know you can learn X, Y, and Z, or like at least have an expectation of like getting through a process with a particular creator who has a course.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. Like a lot of people don't think about the branding. You know, I'm like, if I'm not writing, okay, so an average novel, 20,000 or 30 or 40,000 words, depending on how long your novel is. If it's an 8-hour kind of read or a 15-hour read, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Mine's like in the past, 80,000 words condensed down into 40.
Yeah.
But I'd done it over like multiple steps of the way.
Yeah.
And so it's like this fucking course is taking me like a year to write. And then some other dickhead is like, you know, releasing something in like a month.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it feels like you're just like, oh, why am I putting so much effort into it?
Yeah.
But then in 10 years' time, you will still be working and earning money, and they probably won't. Or they may be working and earning money in a different field, but I don't know. Longevity doesn't come from getting it out quick.
No, exactly.
Not at all. I think I've always thought of my YouTube channel like that. Like going viral isn't a great thing.
It's not a good strategy.
Not a good strategy
and
at all.
Not reliable strategy either. Yeah.
And it's not how to build like an audience that really values you. I mean, you can do that. Sorry, that's sounds like I'm just being bitter. Like I should be more viral or something like that. But like my viral videos haven't necessarily always been the things that have driven the growth on my channel or driven my success or whatever. Like the success I think has come from just like very slowly releasing videos that really resonate with me and things that I really care about, and being intentional about how I talk about them and not just being blasé, and drawing certain lines in the sand about certain things or topics or whatever, being outspoken about some things but not others. Very intentional about all of that. And then I think that has given me stability, some kind of stability, where I feel like if I release another product, there might be people that buy it. Or like there's people that have bought my travel guide and they're like, I can't wait for the next one because I've been to a bunch of places and I had the best time. Like, when's the next one coming out? And that makes me feel like, okay, cool, I'm doing the right thing. Like it was a success. Cool. I'm on the right track.
Nice.
But until you do it, it just feels like you're like slogging through, like walking through honey. Like, what am I doing? Everyone else is like speeding ahead of me with these travel guides that are coming out so quick or whatever.
Yeah.
The funniest kind of course is the ones that like, here's how to make money here's how I made $1 million. And then they're like, what you need to do is to build an audience. And then you need to sell a guide. And you're like, hang on a second. I see what you're doing. You're just making money off of me. And then saying that you've made the money before you've even made it.
Yeah. They're making the money off like teaching how to make the money that they're making on right now.
Yes.
There's no prior like money making.
Definitely put the cart before the horse there. They're just like, they're like, I know I will make money because this is how you make money.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you that I've made 6 figures from a course.
Crazy.
And you're going to buy the course.
Wow. Wild.
It's insane. Wild. It's crazy.
That specific thing is something that I'm thinking about a lot right now.
You're going to make a money course?
I'm going to, okay, so it's not going to be specifically a money course. It's going to be very much similar to in vein and spirit of this podcast, which is like how to take the skills that you've created and leveraged over, a couple of years or whatever, and go full time with it. Yeah. But it's all the like auxiliary things that you really need. But money is such a big part of it, So it's like, it's like, if you're a photographer and you've been on Instagram for like 3 years, and let's say you've got anywhere between 10 to 100,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram, what are the skills you need to be able to leverage that audience and then go full time with it?
Yes. Yeah.
Like as a business owner, as a creative entrepreneur, you wear so many different hats. We were talking about marketing earlier. You got to be the marketer. You got to be the finance guy. You got to be the HR guy, blah, 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 blah. All of these different skills. To my approach is like, okay, what are the skills you need? So like, I'll teach you about branding. I'll teach you about even small things like typography and graphic design.
Yeah.
And like, priming your brand for a professional look, priming your brand to accept sponsorships, how to deal with like clients and campaigns and blah, 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 blah.
Because building the audience is like, it's not the easy part, but it's like it's a big part. Once you've got that, what you do with it. Yeah. You could make $2 or you could make $2 million if you want. Like it just so depends on all of those little things.
Yeah. And then like from there, it's like, how you can then learn all those skills and then what the best kind of avenues are for you to then, make enough income to then go full time. Yeah. And all those kind of things.
That stuff is so important because it's like, I'm learning all of it now, just like kind of by myself and with my brother's help as well. Yeah. And like asking you for little things here or there. But yeah, like beyond that, I'm like, oh, now I know so much more. Yeah. It would be a lot easier if I knew that.
You don't ever learn it until you go through it as well. So but I'm very much trying to like avoid the trap of like being another one of those cash grabby, this is how I made my first $1 million. Like, yes, I can teach you how I made my first $1 million, but that doesn't mean that you can like 100%, replicate that success.
Yeah. Because, exactly.
You don't have the skill set that I have. And so, let me teach you the skill set and then you can go do the thing.
Yes. So yeah, of course. And I feel like stuff that like the low effort cash grab stuff is just going to get more and more and more with AI and just the way that TikTok and short form, fast, grabby dopamine, get your hits, get your attention kind of stuff is increasing and exploding in popularity or just in like prevalence. Yeah. That I think it's just becoming more and more and more important to build an audience that they follow you because you're a real person and they like your opinion and they're not just like. Because now I'm so cautious. If I want to buy something online, I'm like, I don't trust any of this shit. Like, is this real? Is this AI? Like, you're like looking for signs that it was written by AI or, stuff like that. Yeah. It's just getting harder and harder to decipher the difference.
Absolutely. What are you leveraging, if anything, about, AI now that we're on, the conversation? Yeah. The industry's changing a lot.
A lot. So fast. Terrifyingly fast.
Terrifyingly fast. So, for example, the small thing for me, I'm not into it in any meaningful way aside from this, like having my finger on the pulse just to see where things go. But the most recent thing that I had to use that was AI was for Jason's podcast, Jason Vong. So it was like 3 or 4 podcasts ago. Yeah. This mic cut out Like, you know,
Oh.
about an hour and a half into it or something like that.
no.
And then I had to use these backup mics, but luckily we were doing this other thing. And then the backup mic sounded shit. And then I was like, oh, how do I clean this up? So then I had to use like AI to fix everything.
Oh, wow.
And it actually sounded okay at the end, but you could definitely hear that there was a difference. But I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah. It's like you get like a little taste of sugar and you're like, ooh, that was nice.
And then immediately I was like, oh, what other AI things can I like implement in my workflow? You know, that kind of vibe. What are you using?
Aside from just the like ChatGPT and Photoshop beta, where you can generative fill, like remove this item or whatever, expand this photo. I use the expand feature a lot, especially for thumbnails, because sometimes you've got a great photo, but it's only in vertical, and you're like, shit. How do I? And it's just amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's like AI's at this like weird stage where you've got to be kind of into you've got to be a bit more of a tech kind of person to be able to really implement it in a user-friendly way, or just because you know how to use that kind of software. I'm so not like a tech person. I mean, I'm not into tech at all, but I think I'm like a creature of habit sometimes as well. But I'm like waiting for the day, just waiting, praying for the day for two things, so it can like just like for AI to be integrated into Gmail, so I can just have it, you know, please type a reply to this saying, yeah, cool, sounds good. But make it sound professional, because it spends so much time being like, hi, thank you for your email, full stop, new line. I'm really interested in your, whatever. I'm like, I don't care. Just tell them I'm interested, whatever. That would be great. And number two, I just want them to edit my videos for me. I don't think it's going to happen for a very long time, but that would be nice, wouldn't it?
So all of these, okay, the first 3 of these podcasts were all edited by me by hand.
I thought you were going to say by AI. I was like,
but
tell me more.
Yeah. But then one of my friends here, he started a podcast recently as well and got me onto this program called Autopod.
I have heard of this one.
Yes. But ever since the 4th one, I'm just using that. And it's
and it goes brrr, and it cuts out the.
So I first do like the grading. There's not much grading on this. Like it's mostly straight out of camera, so it's pretty easy. It's just exposure stuff. And then I line up all the audio, line up all the video, make sure the start and the finish has like clean cuts. So there's a very strong start point, very strong end point.
Yeah.
Do a couple of settings in the thing, and then boom. And it goes, and then does all the things. It's amazing.
That
Literally,
sounds lovely.
2-hour podcast done in like 3 minutes.
Like it's so good.
Literally takes me longer to like do the configuration than it does like cut it up.
That's crazy.
Like, it's so crazy.
That's amazing.
And then I just go through it once, and then like, you know, make sure the angles are okay. If I'd have to do any like edits, then I'll cut those out as well.
I mean, that is the kind of editing that feels like anyone could do this. Like, because you're just cutting out gaps and you're changing the angle, and it's just so basic that AI can take over, and I feel no remorse. I'm like, go have fun. Have fun with that, AI. I don't care. I think it'll be a really long time. I don't know. Famous last words. But until it can edit like a travel vlog or like
you punch in a couple of words, be like, I want it to feel fun and playful, and there's like a solemn bit in the middle.
I want it to feel human. It's like, I can't do that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Even you talking about it, I'm like, oh, you're right. They're probably doing that already.
Oh, I'm sure they're working on it at some stage.
But until it's like definitely as good as like a human. Or I don't know, like, so at the moment I'm working on a video about sunscreen. Oh my goodness. This video.
You've been working on this video for a long time.
For a year. Like literally I've had the idea for like a year and a half, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was finally able to do it because I went to Australia. Anyway, so I've been working on it for the longest time. And it's like, it's going to be like 45 minutes long at least. It's such a huge topic, but I love it. I'm so passionate about sunscreen now. Anyway, and like the editing of this video is so difficult because it's like, it's me. And then I interviewed another YouTuber. She's like a chemist and all of that. And then I interview and then like, you know, getting clips from like news sorry, what's the word, news
outlets,
the news
yeah,
and you know, just other little things, and I'm like putting it all together with the right music and making it it would be so hard for a computer to do all that, but it's not impossible.
One day.
And it might be nice if it does that for me. yeah it's interesting because it's like, I don't know, like if you look at photography, you know, and people like, we're talking about AI now, but you know, people are like, oh, like the AI art is not good because they're copying artists, like real artists. Then AI photography is not good because it's not real photography. But then I'm like, AI videography? Everyone's like, oh, actually, I wouldn't mind if it edits my videos. Like, there's no like moral dilemmas. Everyone's like, actually, I think it could take my videos. I don't really care.
I've actually done a sponsored video in the past on YouTube for photography editing done by AI.
Oh, interesting.
Where like I fed it 3,000 of my images and like
fun.
edits and stuff like that. And then it learned how I edited things and then spat me out something else.
How did it do?
It was all right. It was all right.
Is it like a good starting point?
Yeah, it's a good starting point. But the thing is like the difference between like, because the process of editing a photo is quite short.
Yeah.
Like the difference between you slapping on a preset versus like going through all the pain of training in AI and then having them do the thing, and then it takes a little while anyway. Like,
yeah, like maybe if you were like a wedding photographer, maybe, and like you've just got like thousands of photos to go through, it's like a preset but elevated. Like it slaps it on, but it's doing a little bit of individual tweaking.
So for me,
that would be perfect.
For me, it's not.
No, it's not
a
for
huge
us.
deal. Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
So it's like for wedding, for sport, for editorial, that kind of stuff, where you're shooting a lot of frames.
Yeah,
then
you need to provide a lot of frames.
Yeah, but I mean, the technology is there, so it's pretty wild.
It is scary wild. Scary. Especially the AI videos. I was like, ooh. That was actually like
Sora.
a big like, Sora. Yeah. Like a big like, oh, I should start a production company, because if that's going to be the future, then at least if I have a production company, I can be the one making the AI videos and like telling AI what, or just using a creative director hat to be able to know what looks good rather than just like slapping it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it absolutely helps.
Yeah.
So on photography, you've been doing a little bit of that over the last few years, and like
I have.
Getting into it. What's that learning curve and that experience been like for you?
Yeah, I think even before I started my YouTube channel, when I'd been living in Japan for a year, it's when I bought my first DSLR. And because I was going to these beautiful places in Japan, and all the photos I took on my little like point and shoot Canon G7 something looks like crap. So I was like, how can I capture this as giving it justice for like how beautiful it is? So I bought a Canon Canon X5 Kiss Mark II or something like that. I think it's the Rebel T3i. I think that's what it, but it was the Japan version.
But in Japan, they have funny names for everything.
They've got cute names for it. So it's the Canon Kiss. And
wow, classic.
Yeah, but it was great because it taught me all like the settings, like ISO and aperture and shutter speed and all of that, and just like figuring out how to expose and then how to compose shots. So I was really into photography before I even started my YouTube channel. So I think that helped me a lot in terms of being able to know what looks good in a video, because a video is just a bunch of photos. So I could compose a photo, and then if I can compose a photo, I could probably compose the shot in a video.
Something that I learned a couple of years ago that just stuck with me is that, like, on big movie sets and stuff like that, the person who is in charge of, like, when you're watching Blade Runner, and it's just amazing visuals and set design and like crazy creating. Those people is literally the title is literally director of photography.
Yeah,
and that didn't click for me for like forever. And I was like, wait, photography in a movie, in a video, like what is it?
I never actually thought about that.
Yeah, but actually, it is that.
Yeah,
it is literally the person who is in charge of what the scene looks like. And lighting and
take a place
everything.
and then turn it into something that looks good.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's that was a huge unlock for me, because I was like, this photography skill is so much more valuable than what we originally give it kind of credit for. Yeah. Like I've been struggling kind of with like a existential kind of where is my career going to go? Because everyone has a smartphone in their pocket and AI is around the corner and images are going to die in blah, 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 blah.
Tricky.
And so it's and so it's always like, what do you do with it? Well, like where do the thoughts go? And so, like something that I've been focusing on a lot is like, you use photography as a base, and then because everything's moving to video, if you become good at photography, you are automatically, after you've learnt the technicalities and, actual physical know-how of how to operate a video camera, then you are automatically a good videographer.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
You're actually,
or you'll at least know how to
be,
make it look good.
you know, yeah, you're gonna.
It's gonna
you're
look
gonna
a lot
know.
better
Exactly.
than someone who's done
straight
neither.
away. Yeah. So very, very huge unlock for me.
Editing's like a whole different ball game. Like the way you edit just drastically changes everything. But yeah, like in terms of making the shot look good, like taking this set and like knowing where the lights go and bouncing it off the wall and then using this color light and that color light and little things in the background, that is such a huge skill that photography teaches you really quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something that I teach in my courses as well. So definitely very good.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the industry as a whole in terms of where the content is going, because you've
My
been
content?
just
The
content in general.
Big content, yes.
Yes. Content with a capital C.
Okay.
I guess.
Yes.
Just because you've been in it for a long time and you've seen the phases of social media go through its waves and it's all the rest of it.
Eras.
What do you think about short form content and what do you think is next?
I think that short form content is a means to an end. Is that the right way of saying? Like I use short form content as a way to get people to watch my YouTube videos, or to at least to get people interested in me. So hopefully I can pull them in with a quick, snappy hit, and then they might stay for my personality or my photos or the places I go or the YouTube videos that I make, because that's where the real value is. The short form videos themselves, I don't know. I don't really
live without them.
What was that?
You can live without them.
Not on my channel.
I mean, if it
I
wasn't
need
a
them.
thing,
if it wasn't a thing, I would love to not have them. Yeah, I think I only feel that way though because I'm not sure if it's like a net positive to society.
Yeah.
Like I feel this way about TikTok mostly.
Sure.
In that like you learn so much and there's like funny as hell people on there and really creative people, and that is the way the industry feels like it's going, is like these short videos and all of that. But I don't know one single person that has said that they love scrolling. I don't know anyone who said that they love scrolling or like that like feels better about themselves after they've scrolled for an hour.
There's literally the term doom scrolling.
It's so bad. I'm like, we're all addicted for sure. I'm at the moment, I'm really just like, I just want to throw away my phone, but I can't because I'm addicted to it. So like, it's just this, but I'm fully aware of like the hypocrisy of like, I am also making content that people are consuming. Maybe they're also addicted. Do I want to feed their addiction? But I have to because I need to be part of the, it's
part
a whole,
of your job.
It's a dilemma. Yeah.
Yeah. Very tricky.
But I don't think that short form videos are good for people, like good for us as humans.
Yep.
Like we're all addicted to it for sure. And it's making our attention spans really short. And, you sit down and watch a movie and I get that itch. And I'm like, I should pick up my phone. But I can feel it now because I'm trying to teach myself to listen for the itch and to just not touch your phone. Don't pick it up. Just watch one screen. Just one screen, please. So
focus on the one thing.
Just please. You don't need two of them all the time, Hannah. So yes. And also I feel like TikTok in particular, it's making, I don't know, it's just like the world at the moment. It's a lot of things, I'm sure. Like the comment section is so like, feels like everybody just wants like, they want like a mic drop moment. Like my comment got the most, like, I had so many likes. I ratioed the hell out of this creator because I had a mic drop comment that was like, no, but for real, like or like, that moment when you realize that they're full of shit or something like that. And they get a bunch of likes and they're like, yeah, cool, I got it. I don't know, it feels like everyone's trying to get that. Everyone's trying to poke a hole in whatever argument. And there's not enough context in TikTok videos or short form videos. If I try to explain one thing in like a minute on Instagram, I think maybe it's expanded now. It's beyond a minute. YouTube Shorts, it's 1 minute, I think, still.
Yep.
But like, there's so few things you can talk about in a minute, even though I'm trying to cut down as many words as I can. I'm trying to make it as succinct as I can. But then there's still something that I'm missing that like there are some topics you can talk about in a minute for sure. But like so many things are just so much more complicated than a minute. And people aren't willing to, they're not on the platform to get context and nuance. They're on the platform to
be entertained.
And
share things with their friends.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it is. Like,
and it's the platform that people want to have like a mic drop and they want to put out something negative because that gets attention as well. But that's not what the platform should be used for, like because you need more context to talk about bigger issues. There's not enough time on those platforms to do it. And yeah, and also like I think I've heard you talk about it before, but like on TikTok, you don't use TikTok or even Instagram sometimes because they've got the suggestions and all of that. You're not there to follow specific people. You're there for the algorithm to show you what you want to see. And the algorithm is so good on TikTok. I'm never in the following section. I'm only on the For You section because it's fun. It knows what I like or whatever. And like, it sounds like I use TikTok a lot. I don't actually. I like never use it because it's so addictive. But also it made me realize that like, I don't know the names of any of my favorite TikTokers or even some of the newer Instagrammers unless I know them in person or have met them in person or something like that. I can't remember their name. And then I go to look them up and Instagram's search function is garbage. So you can never find them, of course. And I'm like, oh, it's weird that like I quite like their style or I like what they do or something like that. But I don't know them enough to know what their handle is. I don't know what their name is. But on YouTube, I could list all of my favorite YouTubers.
Yep.
And I think it's got something to do with the fact that like you are clicking on the video that you want to see. It's not an algorithm showing you, here's what's next, flick, here's what's next kind of thing. And therefore it's causing you to engage with that person because you see the name and they might talk about themselves in the video and you're watching the video for like 10 minutes. Whereas if you watch a TikTok, it's like maybe 1 minute. You gotta watch 10 TikToks of one person before you've had the same exposure to one YouTube video kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all of me saying that, that like all of the value that I see like in content creation, I think TikTok is a great way to bring people in and it's a great way to maybe get recognition or to get people to go to something. Like there's a reason that all of the TikTokers are trying to make a YouTube channel or like go onto TV or something else that's not TikTok. I think TikTok's not the end. Like it's not the end goal kind of thing.
Agreed.
Because if I only had an Instagram account and I released a travel guide, no way it would have sold as well as it did. Or like not even just because the reach wouldn't be as good, but just because I don't think people would trust you enough. Or like it doesn't have the same like value sharing that YouTube does. Because if it's a long form content, you're listening to them for so long and they've given you so much value within that 10-minute video, if it's 10 minutes, whatever. By the end of it, you're like, cool, I feel like I really trust this person now. Even if you don't, maybe they're full of shit, who knows? I don't know. I just think there's so much more value to be had in long form content than there is in short.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously biased because I love YouTube and I'm addicted to short form content. But yeah, I think a lot of people are like becoming very aware of like how short form content is affecting our attention spans, and it just doesn't feel like a net positive to society. I don't think it's going to change though. I feel like it's still probably going to be a part of our lives, maybe forever. Who knows? But
I agree.
Yeah,
I think short form content for me has changed in opinion.
you don't really do them much anymore.
I mean,
well, sometimes.
I started off not doing it, and then I got into it late, and then I did it for a little bit, and then now I'm back at like not wanting to do it so much. Only because I think I'm very much like you in the sense of like I also feel it's not net positive, just in general.
Yeah.
And so like. But then trying to justify that as like a full-time creator is like, like, are you just gimping yourself for no reason?
Yeah.
And could you be getting views or subs or followers if you do it? And if that is a critical part of your overall creative entrepreneurship business, then why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like there's a strong internal battle.
About
that.
And like the industry is always changing as well. Like when they first introduced videos or like short form videos, everyone was like, oh, I hate, like on Instagram, they were like, I hate this, it's turning into TikTok or whatever. Anyone who made one, it was like, that's just a cheap like cash grab. Like it felt like it was cheap or something like that.
It's a clout grab.
Yeah. Or and then and even like stories when they were first introduced. I remember being like, this is so dumb, man. What are they trying to do? Now I love stories. This is my favorite part about Instagram. So like it's always like so changing. But yeah, there was definitely a period where it was like, oh, it feels cheap for me to do this. I don't know if I like it. And then I found a style of short videos that I think works for me, which is like finding an interesting topic or a niche or something and telling a story about it that's not so like me focused, but thing focused, place focused. and having something that offers value, and the value is an interesting story about a place you didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that's worked really, really well. And I think it emulates my style of content in general. So it helps to keep people there. But yeah, it took a really long time to even get to that point, kind of thing. Yeah.
Feel you.
It's so tough.
Where do you think the industry is going to head next as a content creator?
Well, like on YouTube, for example, because for a while it was like vlogs, vlog. Everyone wants to see a vlog. And then now, I remember we talked about it like a while ago, but it was like, I was like, I think I need to go away, not so much, but just like away from the like, we call them like no value vlogs, where it's just like stuff about my life and yay me. And like, that's fun. And some people really love doing that. And like, there's some people like their whole channel is just like
and they get
stuff
away
from their
with that.
life.
Yeah.
And they do, but like I love watching that stuff sometimes. If it's the right kind of person and they've got a fun way of showing it and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like that style is going out for sure, or has already gone out. Like unless if it's still working for you, that's great. It means it's working for you. Keep going. But if it's not, you got to change it up. And so I changed it up a bit and made it more like focusing on a topic. So focusing on my like sunscreen video, answering a key question: is Australian sunscreen actually stronger than Japanese sunscreen? Taking that where it takes you, which is down the biggest rabbit hole in the world. But stuff like that's really fun for me to make, but it's also, it's much more engaging because there's just so much content now. Everyone's making it. Like YouTube it's filled, and like the thumbnails are getting so good, and you don't know until you click on it if it's going to be an AI voice or if it's going to be a real person sitting there talking. But yeah, and then it's getting into this kind of like challenge, like YouTube challenges. Like it's the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. What a crazy sentence. And yeah, like, you know, I challenge myself to walk around Tokyo in a day or to eat 100 bowls of rum. I don't know, it's impossible. But
those challenge videos are getting pretty out of
yeah. But like I find myself doing it as well. Like I filmed one a while ago. It will be coming out in a month or two maybe. But yeah, like I wanted to see if I could run 100 kilometers of the Kumano Kodo. Like not in a whole day. That's crazy. I'm not that intense. But over a week or so. I didn't get the 100 though. I was so pissed. My knee, I've had knee problems. Anyway, so but like that kind of challenge video, which is like, I find those videos really fun to watch and that gets me engaged in certain things. That I'm fine with that, to be honest, as long as it's not like, you know, just, we all know those kinds of influencers that just want to be a nuisance to society.
Yes.
As long as it's not a nuisance to society, like I actually think it's quite engaging. It's very fun. Yeah. I don't know what would be next though. I don't know. I hope that I feel like there is somewhat of a like swing around back to YouTube or like back to longer form content, like because of what we talked about earlier where people don't feel good after they've watched a whole bunch of TikToks. But YouTube is like what I watch on TV more than anything else. Again, we're biased. So you're on YouTube, of course, not everyone's like that. But apparently, if you look at the stats of people that watch YouTube, one of the most used formats, like the technology that people use to watch it is on TV.
Yes.
Is like the majority of people watch it on their TV, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I was so happy when I heard that. I was like, yes, keep the long form content alive.
Yeah.
and sometimes like some YouTubers, their content is such high quality that like it is its own TV
grade.
show. Yeah. And now Mr. Beast is making his own TV show, and that's amazing. Yeah, so I hope that trend continues and that
Me
people
too.
are still happy with long form stuff.
Yeah.
It feels so much more intentional and meaningful.
I think it's very easy to get lost in, especially if you're a full-time content creator, it's very easy to get lost in the sexy allure of like, I need to make short form content because everyone else is doing it and I'm not going to.
It's very sexy.
It is super sexy because it's like, you know, you see all of these, or at least in the past 2 years, see all of these creators just hop on the train.
Yeah.
So much success, so much growth, regardless of what they do with it. Like there's this huge wave of like up and coming creators being successful because of it. So it looks sexy, but at the same time, you know, I think it's very easy to get enamored about that and then like kind of lose your way with like being like, oh, maybe long form isn't so good, or maybe you know, it takes the kind of sheen off making long form.
It does. Yeah, I think often about like the 80-20 rule, which is like 20% of the work gives you 80% of the results kind of thing. Like, I mean, if you're focusing on the right thing, that's what will happen. And for me, that's focusing on YouTube videos that are really, really good.
Yep.
That generally gives me like 80%. But then but also, I don't know, in saying that, like I think last year or like in the past year, I did prioritize short form videos to kind of see what would happen. And it gave me a lot of success on my YouTube channel, like YouTube Shorts, just in terms of getting me a bigger subscriber base. Because like a couple of my reels, shorts, whatever they're called, the short form videos, they went viral per se, like 20 something million views or something like that. For just like one video. And that short video was tied to a YouTube video that was around the same topic, answered more of the question. And so it helped drive traffic to that video and people stuck around for it. And it was similar to what my content was all about anyway. So it worked out really well. But then there's some videos that like when I went to the Tokyo Disney Sea premiere, like there was a press day.
That went crazy.
Yeah,
I did see that.
The expansion, that area, there's like a new area of Tokyo Disney Sea and they just opened it and I got to go in like a month early and film some content, right? And so one of the videos was about this Rapunzel ride that's got the lanterns floating anywhere. It's sitting
super
there
beautiful.
It's so beautiful, really beautiful. But like that video didn't focus on me at all. I wasn't in the video at all. It was just like a fun little thing. And I was like, it's probably going to go pretty well. It's probably going to go viral, but I didn't imagine it would do anyway as well as it did. But also so it's sitting at like 21 million views on Instagram, 35 million on TikTok. Crazy. But haven't really got many subscribers from it or like followers from it, like maybe an extra 2,000 or something.
Right.
But that's crazy low conversion rate.
Yeah.
21 million, 2,000 followers, not a lot. So it really depends on the kind of video that goes viral.
Absolutely.
Whether or not it features me, because then there were other videos that got like 1 million or 2 million views, and then I got 20,000 followers or something. Way better conversion rate, just because it would feature me and it's more in line with my content. So yeah, depends what it is.
Are you gonna 80-20 back to YouTube and focus, solely or majoritively on long form content from now on?
I will still be making short videos for sure. But trying to make it really. Yeah, like videos I've done in the past about like Dr. Yellow, like this.
I still haven't seen it.
God, it's so cool. I love Dr. Yellow. Or about like the world's steepest street, or the cherry blossom tree that went to space. Like these interesting little stories that like there's so many things. Like I just discovered a story recently. I'm like, oof, that's going to be a killer short form video or whatever. Little stories that are very interesting. They don't need a lot of context, but they're just nice to hear. And they're about Japan, and I'm making a long form video that's along those lines anyway. Stuff like that. I think that's the kind of short form content that brings value back to my YouTube channel. Whereas other stuff might just look nice, or it was fun to make. But like, I don't know, not everything I put out has to be like
thoughtful, intentional.
Has to bring in me money, or bring in views on YouTube. Nothing else matters. It's not that. Sometimes it's just fun to make like a beautiful reel because I really like the song or something like that, or I've got a really great shot and I'm like, I need to share this with the world, kind of thing. Sometimes that's just fun.
Super stoked on a shot.
Yeah,
I've done that so many times where I'm like, I'm so stoked on this shot, I just need to make a reel about it. Or
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. So what is next for Hannah? I mean, you're moving to Tokyo at the moment, or
Very
trying
exciting.
to anyway.
Trying to, slowly.
What does the next couple of months look like for you?
Moving to Tokyo, getting an office, very exciting. Had my company starting, very exciting. Hopefully setting up its own like separate website so I can drive traffic there and try to make work outside of my YouTube channel a little bit. Working on my sunscreen video. This is so exciting for me. It's like such a fun, I love it. It's really fun to make videos that's like a deep dive into something. I don't know, I used to make them a lot on my channel years ago. But
I remember.
I stopped because I couldn't handle the heat. Because, anytime you give opinions in a video, oh boy, it's tough.
Watch out.
You better just wait.
Even if you're not giving an opinion and you're just like lightly skirting around a topic, someone will still come in there and ram you up the ass. Like
exactly. But some topics you have to give an opinion, or you have to, and I think also like if you're a woman, you really can't give your opinions as much as if you're a man. Or like you just have to be more careful about how you do it.
Sure.
I've seen some
see
dudes say things where it's like, I would never get away with saying that. Like there's no way. So yeah, I like stopped for a bit because I couldn't handle the heat in the kitchen. But I've started up again. But I mean, also like looking back at some of those videos, I'll look back and be like, oh yeah, I didn't handle that the way I should have, or I should have worded it differently, or I was just flat out wrong or whatever. So there's, I learned a lot from that. But now I'm back. But I'm also like
scan those videos. Let's go.
Like diving deep. What's your opinion on racism? I don't know. Straight in. But I don't know. Like I made a video about like cultural appropriation.
Yep.
And I didn't get cancelled for it. But I mean, I think because I did it the right way. I just so happened to do it the right way and included Japanese people's opinions. It wasn't really my opinion. It was like
someone else's.
Yeah, someone else's kind of thing. But I was like, oof, that was a really like close call. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
maybe.
Especially when you're doing such a spicy topic.
Yeah. No, the sunscreen video isn't so spicy.
I'm so waiting for that. Like I've got this thing where like I wear like sleeveless shirts all the time, and like I've got this like insane farmer's tan right now. So I'm like, oh, I really like need some help.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's been very, very interesting. Yeah, I love doing like little deep dives. I think maybe I'm just like a one-track mind kind of thing. Like you get into something and get really into it kind of thing, which is fun. And you can find some really fun things to talk about within that. So I'm working on that. And, I'm going to Vietnam at the end of July, just with friends. But nice. I might make a video there. That'll be fun.
Oh, Vietnam video.
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
God, what's it called? It's either Hoi An or Hanoi. No, Hoi An.
Hoi An.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
Me and Steph went there like two years ago or something like
that.
Yeah.
I think I went like 6 years ago or 7 years. But it's so cool.
Gorgeous.
But, going with friends and we're just hoping to chill out mostly, but see a lot of, the things.
Nice.
Something different, Yeah, and then just like, more. Oh, I'm doing another episode of Let's Trek Japan, the TV show on NHK World.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even talk about the whole
TV.
Yeah, TV. Crazy.
So, yeah.
Being a TV host and all the rest of it. Such an amazing.
So fun.
Privilege.
It is.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it was weird because it's something about like being on TV that it feels like, oh, I've made it. Like YouTube doesn't feel real for some reason. I think because I'm giving myself the platform.
Right.
But if someone else gives me the platform,
like,
then it's like, oh, you trust me. Or like a big company executive thinks that I'm good enough for this or something like that. Yeah, so it made me feel more legit. But it's also so difficult. But the hiking one's really fun because it's hiking, so it's quite easy. Like not hike isn't easy, but but talking about the topic is easy because I really love it. Yeah. Doing another episode of that, and then hopefully maybe working on another travel guide for a different area of Japan. Nice. Well, already working on it right now, but
Northern Japan.
No, not Northern Japan. No. This is gonna be actually like a mini edition. It's just Kyoto.
Ah, nice.
Beyond the tourist trail Kyoto edition, because Kyoto's going through its own thing at the moment, as we all know. So trying to lessen the burden.
That's also my next guide too. But Kansai, but focus more on Kyoto.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much good stuff in Kansai.
Yeah.
Love Kansai.
Yeah.
I will miss it.
Kansai's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, Hannah Price, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Currently Hannah everywhere. Currently Hannah on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok if you want, but I don't do much there. Not very active there, but yeah. Currently Hannah. Check out my travel guide.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. You're welcome to come back anytime.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that episode, then tap over here for another one that I think you really might enjoy. And if you want to support the channel, remember to like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. See you in the next one.